If you watch Star Wars: The Clone Wars, you'd instinctively recognize how difficult it can be to turn one-dimensional characters into metatextual focal points. It isn't an easy accomplishment, and when done right, it enables an open-minded audience, acting as a barometer in service against newly granted creative liberties. When done wrong, it diminishes the equity of a character's intangibles and actively erodes the original interpretation, making evolution difficult. It's a gamble that many talented minds have attempted with rarely anything to show for it, but those that do manage to create are considered the exception. Audiences imbue their trust into the mantle of intellectual responsibility and expect almost instantaneous haptic feedback if the mantle is misunderstood. The Book of Boba Fett had one responsibility as a television show: create, don't detract. That creative ratio is a deceptively simplistic approach when working in the vast entertainment sandbox that is the Star Wars universe, but as a binary litmus test that started back in 1977, it has yet to spit out anything other than a 1 or 0. Luckily for fans of recent media, Dave Filoni and Bryce Dallas Howard are two creatives behind some of Star Wars' most well-received interpretations, and both of whom are involved in specific episodes during the Book of Boba Fett. And with their involvement, we were treated to some of the most expertly paced, shot, imaginative, enthralling, mature, and enriched storytelling that Star Wars has had in years. The attention to detail was apparent, and characters progressed naturally through their interactions on screen, never feeling out of place in either the world or their own skin. It's an aspect of filmmaking that should be reinforced from each end of the script, yet it was all of these details that were frustratingly omitted from the first season of Boba Fett. Helmed by the words of Jon Favreau and the frames of Robert Rodriguez, the Book of Boba Fett as an experience was anything but substantive. Awkward dialogue and confusing camera angles mixed in with sloppy editing and unimaginative action choreography were the biggest sore spots in this bloated and rushed spaghetti western. If atmosphere is important to the validity of a motivated protagonist, there was none here to be found. I equated several episodes of the series to the likes of a CW show, something that started as a joke and quickly stopped being funny by episode 4. The Book of Boba Fett couldn't succeed because a better standalone Boba Fett show already exists, and its name is The Mandalorian. Everything The Mandalorian does right, the Book of Boba Fett does wrong. Every ounce of mystery and polish The Mandalorian presents, the Book of Boba Fett ignores. While Mandalorian may not know who its main character is just yet, it does know what Din Djarin should be. Boba Fett had the fortune of being somewhat established already, but was now given an identity crisis that wasn't continuously remedied by quality filmmaking. Boba Fett may be an empty canvas as a character, but that doesn't mean he's as malleable as one. It's been 40 years since we first saw a glimpse of his iconic armor, and his presence on screen always left the audience enamored. Follow this with an explosive reintroduction during Season 2 of The Mandalorian, and it was clear that Boba Fett didn't overstay his theatrical welcome, but did warrant more investment from both the studio and audience, however sparingly. The biggest problem with the Book of Boba Fett is its inability to discern exactly what Boba Fett has become. In legend, which is another way of saying how fans feel, he is a ruthlessly efficient bounty hunter whose name precedes him and is known as one of the deadliest men in the galaxy, even while presumed dead. What we are then given on screen is everything contradictory and often hypocritical to that very description, creating next to no investment from the audience. He speaks as a man in want of respect on Tatooine, but operates in a world that should already know who he is, yet it doesn't. He talks of a city being his to rule and protect, but makes no effort to establish any link to its importance or why we should care about its preservation. He begins his journey as a self-proclaimed pacifist after usurping a throne to begin the show, and subsequently does nothing to reinforce his power on that throne. By the end of the series, it was clear that Boba Fett didn't even feel like his own character anymore, and this departure from form left a jarring imprint on the fans. Boba Fett is a high-stakes character doing low-stakes stuff. This only works when the elements around the character, such as themes, narrative beats, and visual presentation, are complementary to the downtime set aside for a hero's deconstruction. If these benchmarks aren't met, you inadvertently resort to wasting the memory of a character and tarnishing the impact of their presence. It's a delicate thread to walk, but its reward comes as an evolution of status for the character with additional complexities of persona that are then tested against the environment. This show has many problems, but the most glaring, I think, is this. There is no reason to care about Boba Fett or his journey on Tatooine because the writing, directing, and storyboarding fail at creating an authentic structure for the characters and audience's investment. Pacifistic Boba Fett works in theory, but it doesn't work during the character's cinematic debut as the leader of his own series. Ruling with respect works in theory, but not when it comes at the cost of situational logic, nor when trying to establish your rule as the new crime lord. With a plot as bare bones as a dead crate dragon, the world inside the Book of Boba Fett canonically and thematically made no sense. Scenes come across like a fan film with limited budget and poorly choreographed interactions. Fight scenes are clunky and impractical, with the inclusion of certain side characters being both unnecessary and often distracting. The normal character motivators that exist to drive a plot forward were absent in the show as well, with almost all of the show's foundations falling apart after the Tusken Raider arc in episode 2. Narratively, the show doesn't have any legs to stand on, so when relying on set pieces and visual storytelling to do the heavy lifting, you really need something excellent to show for it. While we did get some truly incredible filmmaking in episodes 5 and 6, these were the 2 episodes not directed by Robert Rodriguez, and it was very clear the quality of the show was vastly different during this stretch, almost as if the budget for the season was allocated for those 2 episodes. The problem with the Book of Boba Fett is that there was no work done to create an authentic investment from the characters to the world they were interacting with, so the audience couldn't care about anyone either. Maybe Boba Fett doesn't need to be a feel-good character, and maybe his own show didn't need to be so interlinked with Mando to where it subsequently ruined the end of Mandalorian Season 2 by removing the stakes of Grogu's absence. Maybe Boba Fett just needs to be Boba Fett. When I ended the finale, I found myself questioning what the point of any of this was, and if Boba Fett even mattered in his own series. Unfortunately, I think the answer is no, he didn't. If being a main character means losing the mystery and allure that propelled this icon into the status he's in today, then maybe Boba Fett doesn't need to be a main character in this universe. I'd much rather have calculated, authentic, and carefully crafted side stories for him to be a part of, as well as fulfilling a mentorship role for Mando if it means we can return Boba Fett to a character of quality and seriousness. If sacrificing the image of the galaxy's greatest bounty hunter is the price to pay for a painfully unimaginative space western that misunderstands its own hero, I think that price is too much, even for this bounty hunter. And as always, thanks for watching.